Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to another exciting scene of darkness in Dublin. Francis, who would have ever thought that your doom could be heralded by the but by
It always
God, the
starts with
day.
a phone call.
Hmm?
It always starts with a phone call.
So, the phone, the ominous phone, the phone you bought the day before yesterday, is ringing.
Well, excellent, 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 excellent. This is how the whole of the scene will go. Francis, who has taken a seat, will see that this phone is going off, and knowing whom to expect, will answer. He will shift the green button. He won't actually necessarily say anything.
I will be blunt, Monsieur Fairfax. My time is limited, as I'm sure you can understand.
Of course, Justicar Gil, my apologies for the interruption in your duties.
A request was made to me by your sire. It was not exactly easy for me to ignore. So, you have my attention. I recommend you do not misuse it.
I have information to report regarding the assault on your Archon. I also have made headway in this investigation and sought to, in order to acquire the perpetrator of this attempted assassination, sought to clarify any missing pieces to this investigation. So far, I have discovered that, I look at my information.
Continue.
The proxies involved in the hit, the mercenary company known as Squad 11, part of Spearhead, were hired by a very decrepit kindred that paid the figure personally for this would-be assassination. They appear to have very intimate knowledge of the Archon, not only in when and how they were to depart, but also in the armaments used against them. I'll see how to put this.
You are disassembling, Monsieur Fairfax. My time is valuable, speak frankly.
Explosives containing silver shrapnel was used in the attempted assassination of your Archon. Now, this, needless to say, would strike me as very strange, as I highly doubt that the Archon would have made many aware of this particular vulnerability, which would imply that they either knew her personally or forced someone who knew this information to release it, either through manipulation or coercion. This entire investigation also begged the question as to not only who would have the means of opportunity, but also who would have the motive, because we have established that they had the means to do so through this mercenary company and had the information, the opportunity or gave that information to the mercenary company in question. Which means that the only thing that remains is the motive, which is who would have reason to do this to the Archon, who would either be so malicious or obsessed with this Archon, or, and this is part of the reason why I made this request to communicate, to make this call, could they have perhaps had motivation against you to make this assassination? I do not know anyone who would possess this information of the Archon's vulnerability. The reason I have made this call is to understand if you would know anybody who does. As
I am sure that one such as yourself, Monsieur Fairfax, is more than aware that in the service of the Ivory Tower, one accrues many jealous rivals. So, it is more a case of the playing field being open as opposed to it being a small handful of individuals. However, you have made and raised an interesting point as it pertains the allergic reaction to certain materials that certain members of our bloodline or certain members of the greater kindred population are themselves vulnerable to. That is an interesting step. But there are many individuals who would seek to do either myself or my darling Catherine harm. It is merely a matter of understanding the grievance. For after all, as valuable as a cat's paw is, it is only a cat's paw.
Francis considers this. He's, I'll be honest, trying to infer the meaning from the Justicar that she's trying to express to him.
A good assumption would be, my Archon is nice, but in the end, even if it dies, I'll just get another one.
Yeah, it's kind of a case of it's probably an issue of this particular Archon rather than me, because I can just have as many Archons as I want. Is that kind of what she's implying?
Either that, or it could be an implication of if they were trying to get at me, if they were trying to get at me, oh boo-hoo, I'll just get another Archon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like literally, yeah, what do I care? I can have as many Archons as I want.
Hashtag she's as cold as ice and willing to sacrifice.
Yeah. This is...
Continue, sir.
This is a very strong point.
Though you said you were able to ascertain the individuals in question.
Oh, pardon, what did she say?
You were able to ascertain the individuals in question.
Is she referring to Squad 11?
Yes.
Did we catch any that were alive? Because I'm pretty sure that we all killed them.
You didn't, but you didn't capture any of them alive. But you did catch them, and you know who they worked for. So chances are, if you really wanted to, you could. If you really wanted to, certain kindred could probably gain access to things like their files, the records that Spearhead would keep.
I was gonna say, Yes, they're going to be my next point of investigation.
I'm curious, Monsieur, what is the life of an Archon of the Ivory Tower worth these days?
There is a momentary pause. As Francis says, as global enforcers of the Camarillas will.
You idiot child, I mean, how much were they paid in order to attempt the assassination of my Archon?
Oh, see, I think they paid $500,000, weren't they?
That was half of the payment.
$1 million. They were paid half up front.
And for the record, that's €1 million as a qualifier.
Oh yeah, he'll say euros.
Because
not pounds. Because British supremacy.
I'm sorry, but for the record, the British pound failed. This is the year 2020. Brexit destroyed your economy, as it is going to in real life.
Shut up! It could still be It could still. Anyway, so
it's great.
he'll say €1 million. Half was paid up front. Was made through a Swiss bank account, which is also another point of my investigation.
I see. Interesting. Is there anything else I can do for you, Mr. Fairfax?
There is the Well, she already more or less answered his question of, hey, do you know anybody who knows about her silver shrapnel weakness? And she's like, lots of people.
Well, not necessarily lots of people, but it is not hard to figure. It is not hard to figure out.
Yeah, it's an open playing field. Enough people for it to.
You can ask how people might know that as an interesting topic.
That's actually, that could help him, and it is relevant to his investigation, so he will ask it. He'll say, if I may ask, as I'm familiar with the Archon's condition, this is the third time I've witnessed it. How would one go about discerning this particular vulnerability?
Oh, my darling Mr. Fairfax. It's quite simple, really. Very often, shall we say, when it comes time to dine, or when it comes time to drink, if something is served to someone in a silver goblet, and they refuse only to pour it into a less grand drinking vessel, or cannot eat with a knife or a fork made from the metal, if one is observant, one can see these things.
I see. Thank you. That is all, Majestica.
Should you make any more headway in this topic, you may feel free to contact me in the same manner again. A new phone will of course be required, but I am most anxious to hear that there is indeed traction on the topic. We understand one another.
Of course, and my sincerest gratitude for your time.
Good evening, Mr. Fairfax.
At which point the line will go dead.
Yeah. He expected her to have the last word. Just about Pax. Yeah, and at which point he will ensure that the phone is he'll pick up the phone and make arrangements to ensure that it is properly destroyed, so that Madam Gill cannot be contacted on this line again, and it is not a point of weakness for the just occurred.
Very good. In that case, thank you players for playing. Thank you watchers for watching. This is